Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Quantum Leap Futures Morning Leap session for Monday, January the 8th, 2018. My name is Doug McKay. I am the founder of Quantum Leap Futures. Each morning, we get together in these live go-to sessions to take a look at the market, macro to micro, take a look at the structure of the market, and then we drill down to our trade levels, our targets, and our hypotheses for the day. We do create multiple hypotheses. These are our trade plans. We do not know what the market's going to do. We take a look at what the normal auction would look like based on who's in control, and we create two main hypotheses, which are our regular, long or short, and targets accordingly, and then we look at the expansion possibilities with our Hypo 3 and Hypo 4. This is a subscription room. If you're interested in checking it out, send me an email at quantumleapfutures@gmail.com. There's no website. There's no blog. This is not a commercial venture. We do everything live here in the pre-market, in the go-to, and then we do live trading and analysis during the course of the trading day. Please read through the disclaimer. Nobody at Quantum Leap is a certified trading advisor. We are retail traders operating within a self-organized learning environment. Past performance is not indicative of future results, and any trades that you see in Quantum Leap are for education purposes only. Please trade your own due diligence, your own trade plan, and your own risk metrics. So taking a look at Friday. Friday, we talked about the fact, well, before I bring that up, Friday we were looking at the possibility of this being either a exhaustion gap or a runaway gap. And we were looking for higher volume to come in and sustain itself to show it being a exhaustive gap, and it actually turned out being another runaway gap, and we get this new trend day with a close at near the high, and then of course we get the continuation into the Globex, and we went and put a new all-time high in the Globex on the Sunday night open, and up to the 2747.75. So taking a look at Friday's trade level chart. We were looking for the Hypo 1 was an open auction, a push up, take out the overnight high, and then a rotation down and going sideways inside of the distribution from Thursday. Hypo 2 was which also had equal weight, was a push into the prior day, a push into the value area, and then a move through value down to close the gap as an exhaustion, and then find buyers and slowly work its way back up. Hypo 3 was a runaway gap and a failure to hold inside of the prior day. We are looking for initiative buyers to step in between 29 and 27, the top of the value area, and basically go and trend up into the close and go hit the daily ATR target up at the 2740 area, possibly even up into the 2750. Hypo 3 is what we got. It looked like we were going to get Hypo 2 and basically come in and push a little bit further, but they rejected the value, and then once they broke out, they fought that high, and then they went up and took out the overnight high and put in a new all-time high, and then basically went sideways and started trending into the close. Got a little bit of a sell-off on the cash close, but then they bought it back up, and we basically closed near the highs. And then in the Globex session, we opened up and immediately went in and put in the new all-time high, and from there the sellers have stepped in, and we've just been drifting down into the close. Now, interesting thing today is we're actually going to open below the close. This is the first time that we've opened below the close in the last 5 days. So we're actually seeing some responsive selling, but we've also put in a new unequalized all-time high. So that is still has something to target to the upside is that 47.75, but this could be the start of a possible blow off top and a pullback, and leaving that unequalized high alone for a little bit later once they come back and do some repair work. You can see that this area right here is very blunt. There's really no price acceptance in this area, and we've got a lot of repair work to do below. So can this market still continue to go up? It's showing us that it can, because of the Globex unequalized new all-time high and repair work that has to be done above. But we're seeing some contextual change here. One of them being is we're actually going to open up, and we're going to have a small gap down with that close up at 42.75. So 42.75, the 43 and a quarter, the RTH all-time high, that is going to be our over-under line. It's the first time it's been above us rather than below us. And if we hold below that, I'm looking for a sideways consolidation with the downward drift down towards that 34, and possibly even down into closing the gap down here at the 24. So a little bit of a contextual change. It's going to be interesting to see what happens on the open. Let's take a quick step back and take a look at the news. There's not a lot of news this week until Thursday, but just going through it. We've got 6 minutes. We've got European French 12-month BTF auction. 10 o'clock, we've got CV employment trends. 10:30, we've got the Bank of Canada Business Outlook Survey. Then 11:30, we've got the 3-month and 6-month bill auction. We've got Bostic from the Fed speaking at 12:40. Then we've got Williams from the Fed speaking at 1:35. And that's it for the RTH. Then we've got Rosengren speaking at 4 o'clock as the market closes. Going into tomorrow, 8:15, we've got housing starts for Canada. 8:55, Red Book. We've got Kashkari from the Fed speaking at 10 o'clock. We've got JOLTS jobs and IBD and TIP economic at 10. 11:30, we've got the 4-week bill auction. 1 o'clock, we've got the three-year note. And then at the close, we get the API weekly crude. Going into Wednesday, we've got export pricing at 8:30 and import pricing, building permits for Canada. 9 o'clock, Chicago Fed. Evans speaks. 10 o'clock, wholesale inventories, and then 10:30 crude inventories. And that's about it for there. We got another Fed member speaking, a lot of Fed speaking. It is the start of earnings as well. We do have some earnings coming up this week. And then on Thursday will be the bigger news that comes out. PPI at 8:30, Bloomberg Consumer Confidence, jobless claims also at 8:30. We do have ECB monetary policy coming out on Thursday morning at 7:30 as well. This could be a market mover. And then on Friday, we've got core retail sales will be the big one at 8:30. And then at 10 o'clock, business inventories, Baker's Hughes at 1 o'clock. And that's it. So it's relatively a light economic week, but we do have earnings coming up this week. Taking a look at the COT report, nothing really has changed. The commercial paper, the smart money continues to get net short. The retail continues to get more net long, but so does spec, and that tells me that there's still room that we can go higher. That even a little bit of a pullback, could still lead us to taking out that new unequalized all-time high at 47.75 at some point in time at this month. The one thing we do have to note, though, is that the 14-month average average true range is running at 86, and we've already put in 60 some odd points already in this range. So let's take a look at the macro to micro. I'd like to start with a monthly. You can see that the range this month already is 73.25. It was 68 something before we put in the extension in the Globex, but 73.25. The month average is 86, so there is room for expansion, but I think it's going to be probably expansion to the downside, more than the upside. I think they'll leave that if they don't take it out really quickly, like today or tomorrow, I think that we'll leave it alone for the month and start pulling back towards this 9 EMA and back towards the 2700. I like to watch the 9 and the 20 on all the different time frames. The 9 EMA, 20 SMA. I'm looking for slope and separation, strength of the trend up. We still have that. We're testing the upper boundaries of this upward sloping fork that we've been watching for quite some time now, and we're seeing a little bit of expansion. But when you take a look at on the weekly, you can see we're coming back to test the top of that this morning and in the Globex. And if we get below it, I'm looking for a technical gap fill and a move down towards that 72.43. 74.50 is still my primary target below. Good slope and separation on the weekly. Going to the daily. Again, this is the first time we're actually going to open below the close of the prior day, creating a gap below. So we could quickly pop up into that 42.75, close it, and then fail and come down. So we have to watch that as our key level today, and it's the first time that we've had our over-under line actually above us on the open. Pull back to the 9 on the daily takes us all the way back down to the 27.12. I'm watching that 27.13 area. Going to the intraday, we put in we talked about the possibility of putting this FUBAR Mr. Sneaky in on a larger time frame. We have done that. We pulled back and closed the technical gap and have bounced so far. So we got to watch this 36.50 area below. The LVN is 35.25. That's the one that I'm going to see. We ended up with a bit of a double distribution on Friday, and any move below that takes us back to testing that upper line of the fork, which is down here at the 24 area. Taking a look at the 30-minute, you can see that we have a smaller time frame trend change where we had good slope and separation, went sideways consolidation, had the rollover, and now we're getting slope and separation to the downside, and they're rejecting the 20 here, and so far we're rejecting the 9 on the retest here, and this could be the start of a small pullback, and I'd be looking for a pullback immediately into this 33-34 area. The VPOC is 34. That's the target right now below us if we stay below the 9 EMA. Going to the 5-minute, you can see that we had a pretty strong trend, but now they've changed it, and we've left a naked cross right here at the 38.50. That's the immediate target below if we fail to break out of that 42.75 area. Well, actually, the high would be the 43.25. So taking a look again at the structure, we had our breakout gap, our continuation gap. Now we had our runaway gap, and now we're closing below. So we're not going to get an exhaustive gap. What we could see is a 2-day island top, and just come back and consolidate sideways here. So the inventory overnight is roughly, I'd say about 50 to 60% net short, below that 43 and a quarter. We've created a triple distribution overnight with an LVN at 41 and an LVN at 44. But the key to me is the gap close and how we handle the 42.75 up to the 43 and a quarter. Our VPOC is, basically right at that close in the high from Friday, and we're coming back inside of what turned out to be a bit of a double distribution trend. Is we've got this thin area down here with the VPOC down at the 34, and that's basically what I'm targeting if we fail at the high from Friday and get a gap closed against the 42 and a quarter. We may leave this gap above us alone and leave two targets, actually three targets, which would be the Globex VPOC and the all-time high at 47.75 and the naked close at 42.75. So taking our levels and moving them over, we have a Globex overnight high at 47.75. That is also a unequalized all-time high, or what we call a Globex all-time high. And we have a overnight low at the 36.50. We have our overnight VPOC has not shifted. It might shift down here depending on how much volume we get in the next 25 minutes. But currently right now, it is up at the 42.75. Then we have a LVN at 41. I'm going to use the 41 rather than the value area. The value area is not as important from yesterday or from Friday because we trended into the close. What's more important is the LVN zone, this area between the 39.40 area down into the 34 area. This is unauctioned territory that really we blew through on the way up into the close. There's another LVN at 44 and a quarter. That will be my area that I'm watching. So I'm watching to see if we move up into this 42 and a quarter and naked close, take out the Globex VPOC and get a false breakout and fail to hold, and then a rotation down. The other area that we've got to watch is the 35 and a quarter LVN, and that takes us down to the VWAP and the mid. So I'll be using that as a continuation if I'm already short into the 34 and a push down into yesterday's or Friday's open at the 32.25. That's all the information that the Globex is going to give us. We have to take a look at these levels right there. You can see that the LVN at 35 and a quarter shows up as a composite LVN, but one day composite means nothing. This is just very unauctioned, unmatured price discovery, and we're likely to see some chop, and that's why I'm thinking that the majority, the more likelihood is we're either going to see continuation or we're going to see consolidation. I don't think we'll see failure today. If anything, it'll set up for a possible 2-day or 3-day island top and then gap down. Targets below, obviously the primary target is 34. Then we have the 29, which was the range high from Thursday that we rejected. More likely, you could use the 27.50 to the 26.50, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move this down because that's where they found the buyers on Friday to reject the prior range and leave the gap alone. Anything below that, you're targeting the 25.50 and the 24, but I don't think we'd get much more than that. Our 20 period average true range on the full session is running 1655, so 47.75 minus the 1655 gives us a range down into the 31 area as our daily downside ATR target. This is one of the reasons why I don't think we'll get failure, more consolidation and a filling in of this LVN zone. And then off of the low overnight of the 20 or 3650 takes us up to 53. So we do have range capabilities to go and take out that all-time unequalized high, and that's why we're using the 43 to 42 area as a over-under line, and but I'm going to be cautious and wait for the break above the 44 if I'm not already in a trade. So I'm going to put the over-under line at the range, actually at the gap close, and the overnight V pocket. I'm going to move that to the back. As long as we stay inside of the range, I'm targeting below. I'm targeting that 34 as a primary, and possibly down into the 31 to 25 area and a possible gap close. So in terms of hypotheses, it's going to be very similar to the prior Friday. I'm looking at a open auction, this time in range but just outside of value. I'm looking for a move up, responsive buyers up into the 42, and I'm looking for them to come up and fail somewhere up here and then roll over, come down, and basically go sideways between 30 and 38 area and just chop in the near the overnight low and taking out that naked VPOC and just going sideways as a consolidation day. Hypo 2 will be a open auction in range, a push down into the 34 to 35 area and start grinding our way up towards this week high and moving towards the equalization of the overnight high, but just basically chopping and grinding and giving us very little opportunity to do much other than buy down here at the 34 to 35 area. That's hypo 2. Hypo 3 is a open test drive, failure to take out the overnight low, break above the 43 and a quarter, closing the gap, and the Globex VPOC, pushing up and then coming back and testing the range high again, rejecting it, and getting another continuation up into taking out that unequalized Globex high and pushing up into that measured move at the 2750 and basically closing near the highs again and just getting this unbelievable continuation. That is, is possible, but it's lower in probability, just basically based on what we've seen overnight so far. And in fact, that we are way overbought. Doesn't mean that we can't stay overbought. Absolutely not. Anything's possible in this market right now. Hypo 4 is a complete breakdown and a big trend day down. And we're going to watch how they handle the lower distribution in this 31 area, because if they don't hold down here and start the consolidation, then they're not finding any buyers, and we're likely to fail miserably and come down into the 24 area and possibly even come down into the 18. That's a possibility because we have not had a big failure day yet in the year. We had a failure day going into the close of 2017, but so far we've only had bullish gap days up. So those are my main hypotheses. Just remember that it's going to be choppy today because there's really no, even if they stay inside of the prior day, there's really not a lot of price acceptance and rejection. We have not matured the auction up here, so we could see some some wide swings. So just just don't get stubborn today, because you could get chopped up, because you might be right, but you might have to take a 3-point to 4-point rotation. So you got to be very careful on your entries today, and watch the size and the average of your rotations today, because we could see 4 and 5 and 6-point average rotations due to the fact that we're still in this price discovery. Going over to gold. Gold on Friday, we were looking for a continuation of this. That's not my gold. We were looking for consolidation and chop around that 16 to 15. I said expansion up to it was expanding up to the 18, 19, and basically that's what we're getting. We're chopping in sideways after a very strong $89 rotation up, and you're going to either see consolidation and continuation, or we're going to see consolidation and a pullback to pick up some late buyers and move back down towards that 1300. The levels to pay attention to is obviously the 23 area. The value area on the microcomposite is 22, but I'm really watching the LVN here at 23, above 23. Look for them to push it through and test that 27 area and possibly break out up into the 32. So I'm watching the 23, the 27, and breaks above into the 34, which is the next big target above. Failure to get above the 22, I'm looking for them to hold inside of the value and come back to the VPOC and come back and do some more chop, in this 15 to 18 area again. Any break below the 13, then if we don't find buyers at the 16, look for them to test the other side of that distribution zone down to 13. And anything below 13, I think we get a bigger pullback, and the initial target will be the 1308 and 1300, of course, and then down to the 1298. The really big target is still below down here at the 1280, which is the composite VPOC that goes all the way back to 2008. That's going to complete our pre-market session. Sorry I went a little bit long today, but Mondays there's lots to look at, and this market is certainly looking very interesting. As always, trade well, trade safe, and we'll catch you on the flip side.